Welcome to Somerset Success Strategies. Today's post is titled A New World Order, Look Out Wal-Mart and GM. I attended the World Business Forum in New York City back in September, and one of the pleasant surprises for me was to be introduced to a company by the name of Tesco through a presentation given by their CEO at the conference, whose name is Terry Leahy. I'll get back to Tesco in a second. First of all, to address GM. The post is titled A New World Order, Look Out Wal-Mart and GM. Well, it's not a big surprise, as it's been highly anticipated and widely publicized that Toyota will ultimately overtake GM and become the world's #1 automaker. It's really not a question of if, it's just a question of when. Now, back to Tesco as it relates to a new world order, look out Walmart, is that not as many people may be aware that a change is brewing in the retail world as well. Now, this change is not nearly as much of a certainty as Toyota overtaking GM, and even if it does occur, it is likely to take many more years than it will take Toyota to overtake GM. But I believe that this company by the name of Tesco may well become the world's largest retailer. Now, who is Tesco? Well, Tesco is currently the #1 supermarket in the UK and the 3rd largest in the world. Now, why haven't you heard of them? Well, mostly because they have a very different retailing model than Walmart. Walmart uses a one-size-fits-all model. They use the same brand and the same basic store concept everywhere in the world. Tesco, on the other hand, believes in being global but acting locally. So they use a different brand and store concept in every country. They can take the form of a compact hypermarket in Turkey, a neighborhood market in inner cities in the United States, or 500,000 square foot stores in China. Now, what's the lowest common denominator between Tesco and Toyota, and why are they such a threat to Walmart and GM? Well, it's really a focus on understanding their customers' value proposition and this continuous and never-ending commitment, bordering on an obsession, to increasing customer value add. That's the direct strategic connection between Tesco and Toyota. Now, many people have heard of the Toyota production system. It's world famous. But the most interesting thing to me about the Toyota production system is it's, I believe, a 9-step process. But step 1 is the part that interests me the most, because although Toyota is legendary for its engineering, step 1 in the Toyota production process is actually a sales and marketing concept. Step 1 is define customer value, this recognition of and obsession about customer value and the customer value equation. Terry Leahy has a 7-step process that has led to the success at Tesco. And step 1 is very similar to that we heard about in the Toyota production process. Terry's step 1 is, when we approach a problem, we don't think, how can we do this better than the competition, but how can we serve the customer better? Your customer, not your competitors, should call the shots. Now, this is a direct tie-in to my very last post where we talked about don't try to be the best. When you are thinking, how can we do this better than the competition, you're thinking about how can we become the best. When you're thinking about how can we serve the customers better, you're thinking about how can we become more unique. So there's a direct connection between Tesco and Toyota's success and the strategic planning discussion that we had in the last post based on Michael Porter's work of do not try to be the best. Now, this was a real change in operations for Tesco from when Terry first came there. When Terry first came there, Tesco was a very slow, dying company that was basically always reacting to the market. They were a market follower. See what the competition does and then react to the competition. They were a follower. Now what Terry has done is transform Tesco into a thriving market leader, emphasizing customer listening and rapid response to same. So Terry really hasn't been a believer in paying consultants for advice on the strategic direction of Tesco. He favors listening to and acting on the free advice that Tesco can seek directly from their customers instead. Their customers drive their strategic planning cycle. Tesco's objective is to build a lifetime loyal customer. Now, in no particular order, here are some of Terry's secrets to success at Tesco. He encourages the Tesco team to live by the following maxims. Number one, follow the golden rule in their interactions with each other. And then second, to become the embodiment of the Tesco motto, which is no one tries harder for the customer. Some other philosophies that Terry has is that he strives to maintain the heart of a small business through localized team member empowerment at the individual store level, no matter how big Tesco becomes at a macro level. He preaches that you have to really believe in your team and that you really have to fight the head office mentality, or basically bureaucracy, which ties into a post from several weeks ago where we talked about the role of corporate governance and how to fight bureaucracy at a philosophical level. So Terry really has tried to develop this 1,000 Tesco leaders all over the world who are taking risks in the model of each store being its own small business. His bottom line is to trust people, allow them to take risks, to innovate, and to experiment. So he believes that change is the general rule, not the exception. That's how he builds this market-leading type of mentality. Change is the general rule, not the exception. He also believes that in order to successfully execute on that promise, that you need to emphasize simplicity. He believes in making everything simple, because that drives change. A simple aim provides a clear focus. A simple proposition is easy to understand. Simple acts take less time to learn, less time to do, and cost less. Simple systems take less time to establish. So his formula is this idea of simplicity will help drive this culture of change being the general rule as opposed to the exception. His formula for innovation lies in this absolute obsession with customer listening and this continuous rapid change driven from this feedback. Sell what people want and be totally dedicated to the customer. He believes that knowing what the customer wants and then not giving it to them immediately is actually worse than ignorance of what they wanted in the first place. Think customer and respond in real time. Your strategy should be driven by customer feedback, and the implementation and the speed of it matters as much as the strategy itself. To always be thinking, how will I make this work in practice? Again, the idea of simplicity. Now, one of the tools that they use is a balanced scorecard approach. They create stretch targets and manage each individual store with a traffic light dashboard that they call their steering wheel. This becomes the information system that they use to manage the store at the local level rather than waiting for direction from headquarters. And this approach has helped them keep this small business mentality in this big business body. Another piece of advice that Terry gives all of his people is that in times of change, be sure to change yourself individually and organizationally. Think about the world as it is. Face the current reality, not as you might want it to be or how it used to be. And if you want your business to grow, no matter whatever that business is, never stop focusing on the customer. So that's a little bit about Terry and his success at Tesco, driven by customer listening. We would like you to tell us about your customer listening systems. We would love to hear from you.